Emma Lawrence had always believed that her marriage was built on trust, laughter, and the occasional date night that involved Netflix, Thai takeout, and her husband falling asleep 10 minutes into the movie. She'd been wrong, of course. Spectacularly, humiliatingly wrong. She found out on a Tuesday, the kind of boring, gray Tuesday that didn't deserve to be memorable. She was halfway through folding laundry when her phone pinged with a notification. It was a message from her best friend, Kayla, containing just 3 words. Asterisk, check his Instagram. Asterisk. Emma frowned, clicked, and stared. There he was. Jason. Her husband of 7 years. Standing on a beach, shirt unbuttoned just enough to make it clear he thought he was God's gift to women, arm wrapped tightly around a blonde who definitely wasn't Emma. The caption read, "To new beginnings, red heart #blessed #soulmates." Emma blinked at the screen, then at the pile of laundry, then back at the screen again. She read the caption 3 more times because her brain simply refused to compute that her husband had just soft-launched his affair like it was some kind of inspirational quote. New beginnings, she muttered. Oh, I'll give you a new beginning, Jason. By Thursday, Jason had officially moved out, or, more accurately, Emma had stuffed his clothes into garbage bags and left them in the hallway for him to collect while she blasted Beyoncé's Irreplaceable through the apartment speakers. By Friday, she was sitting in the kitchen, staring at the beige walls of their overpriced downtown condo, sipping a glass of wine the size of her head, and trying to decide what to do with the rest of her life. That's when the idea hit her. The condo had always been his choice. His dream place, his money, his rules about minimalist aesthetics and neutral palettes. It looked like a soulless hotel lobby, and she hated it. Well, she said out loud, if he wants a new beginning, so do I. She pulled out her laptop, opened Pinterest, and began creating a board titled Operation Petty Renovation. The next morning, armed with caffeine, chaos, and a credit card that Jason had forgotten to cancel, Emma marched into a home improvement store. Hi, she said to the first associate she saw. I need paint. Lots of paint. Preferably in colors that scream, I don't need a man to validate my life choices. The associate blinked. We have a nice teal? Perfect. Give me 2 gallons. And just like that, the revenge renovation began. 3 days into Operation Petty Renovation, Emma realized 2 very important things. 1, she had absolutely no idea what she was doing. 2, her upstairs neighbor was way too attractive to be legal. The first realization hit her when she attempted to assemble an IKEA bookshelf and ended up with something that looked like modern art. The second realization came when she dragged a bucket of paint into the hallway and nearly collided with a man carrying a toolbox and a 6-pack. Whoa, he said, steadying her before the paint could tip over. Careful there. Emma looked up, way up, because this man was at least 6'2", and felt her jaw drop. Dark hair. Sharp jawline. Warm brown eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. And that smile, oh, that smile should have come with a warning label. She said brilliantly, Hi. Hi, he said, shifting the toolbox to one arm and offering his hand. I'm Jack. Just moved in upstairs. Of course his name was Jack. He looked like a Jack. Emma, she managed, shaking his hand and immediately regretting how sweaty her palm felt. Nice to meet you, Emma. His gaze flicked to the paint bucket and then to the streak of teal on her cheek. You doing some work down here? She glanced at the paint bucket, then at her stained t-shirt, then at the smudge on her cheek that she now realized probably made her look like a deranged smef. Yeah. Renovating, she said, trying to sound casual. My husband and I, well, ex-husband, long story, anyway, I'm making some changes. Jack raised an eyebrow but didn't press. Need a hand? I'm pretty good with tools. Emma hesitated. The last thing she needed was some stranger witnessing her slow descent into DIY madness. But then again, she could barely tell a wrench from a screwdriver, and this man looked like he'd been born holding a hammer. Maybe, she said. If you're sure you don't mind? Jack grinned. Not at all. Besides, I could use a break from unpacking. Feels like I've been living in cardboard boxes forever. And just like that, Jack became a part of Operation Petty Renovation. By the end of the week, the beige walls were gone. Teal in the living room, a bold mustard yellow in the kitchen, it's cheerful, Emma had insisted, ignoring Jack's skeptical look, and an entire accent wall in the bedroom that she'd painted a deep, dramatic plum. It's bold, Jack said, tilting his head at the plum wall. It's called empowerment, Emma replied, standing with her hands on her hips and ignoring the purple smudge in her hair. Jack chuckled. If you say so. They'd fallen into an easy rhythm, Jack handling the heavy lifting and anything involving power tools, Emma making questionable design choices and providing a steady stream of sarcasm and takeout food. At night, after the day's chaos, they'd sit on the half-assembled couch, drink cheap wine, and talk. About nothing and everything. Emma learned that Jack had moved to the city for a job in architecture and that he had a sister who kept trying to set him up with nice girls from her yoga class. Jack learned that Emma hated reality TV but had a weird obsession with true crime podcasts, and that she could eat her body weight in dumplings. And slowly, without either of them really noticing, the condo started to feel less like Jason's place and more like hers. Of course, because the universe loved drama, Jason showed up unannounced 2 weeks later. Emma was in the middle of repainting the kitchen cabinets when the doorbell rang. She wiped her hands on her paint-stained jeans and opened the door to find her ex-husband standing there, holding a bouquet of flowers and wearing his most apologetic expression. "Emma," he said, his voice dripping with fake sincerity. "Can we talk?" She blinked at him, then at the flowers, then back at him. "What the hell are you doing here?" "I made a mistake," he said, stepping closer. We can work this out. I love you." Emma opened her mouth to tell him exactly where he could shove those flowers when Jack appeared behind her, barefoot, in a faded t-shirt, holding a mug of coffee. "Everything okay, Em?" he asked casually, taking a sip. Jason froze. Emma blinked. "Oh," she said sweetly, taking the bouquet from Jason and tossing it into the trash. "Everything's perfect." Jason stood frozen in the doorway, his jaw slack, like someone had just spoiled the ending of his favorite show. "Who's this?" he demanded, his eyes darting to Jack, then to Emma, then back again. Emma crossed her arms and leaned against the doorframe, enjoying this far more than she should have. "This," she said, her tone dripping with sugary venom, "is Jack. My neighbor. And, apparently, my contractor/painting therapist." Jack lifted his coffee mug in a casual salute. "Hey." Jason's face turned an alarming shade of red. You replaced me already?" Emma tilted her head, feigning innocence. "Oh, honey, don't flatter yourself. Replacing you would imply you were actually useful in the first place." Jack choked on his coffee. Jason spluttered, flailing like a fish on dry land. "I came here to apologize, Emma. To fix things." To what?" Emma cut in sharply. "To make me your backup plan while you play house with Beach Barbie? No thanks." For a second, Jason just stood there, his mouth opening and closing like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Finally, he huffed, turned on his heel, and stomped down the hall, muttering something that sounded suspiciously like "ungrateful" under his breath. Emma shut the door with a satisfying click, leaned against it, and exhaled. Jack raised an eyebrow. Huh?" She shrugged. "Ex-husband. Long story. Short version, he's trash, and I'm redecorating my life." Jack grinned. "Bold move. I like it." From that moment on, Jason's visits became frequent, and increasingly pathetic. One evening, Emma came home to find a box of chocolates on her doorstep with a note that read, "Thinking of you, J." She tossed it straight in the trash. Another time, he sent her a text, "Can we talk? I miss you. I miss us." She replied with a single emoji, the trash can. Jack found the whole thing hilarious. "You know," he said one night as they sat on the couch surrounded by color swatches, "there's a whole subreddit dedicated to this kind of thing. Petty revenge. You'd be their queen." Emma smirked. "I don't want to be their queen. I want to be their legend." And so, Operation Petty Renovation kicked into high gear. Emma decided to redo the entire place, not just the walls. She bought bold furniture, wild light fixtures, and enough plants to make the condo look like a small jungle. "Are you sure about the neon flamingo lamp?" Jack asked as they assembled her new living room. "Absolutely," Emma said, placing it proudly in the corner. "It's a statement piece. The statement is, I have survived betrayal and now I do what I want." Jack chuckled, shaking his head, but he didn't argue. The more time they spent together, the more Emma noticed things about Jack. Like the way he always rolled his sleeves up when he worked, revealing tanned, strong forearms that should have been illegal. Or the way his eyes crinkled when he laughed, which was often, because Emma had a talent for making self-deprecating jokes at her own expense. And then there were the little things. How he always brought her coffee exactly the way she liked it. How he never made her feel stupid, even when she confused a wrench with a pair of pliers. Some nights, when the condo was quiet and the smell of fresh paint lingered in the air, Emma would catch herself wondering what it would be like to lean over and kiss him. But then she'd shake the thought away. She wasn't ready. She couldn't be ready. Could she? Jason, meanwhile, was spiraling. He started sending dramatic texts late at night. "You'll regret this, Emma." Followed by, "I can't stop thinking about you." One night, after a bottle of wine and an ill-advised scroll through his social media, Emma found herself laughing hysterically at his latest post, a black and white selfie captioned, "Sometimes, the heart just wants what it wants. Asterisk. Wow, she muttered to her glass of Merlot. Somebody give this man an Oscar. The next morning, Jack found her in the kitchen, hair in a messy bun, still in her pajamas, scrolling through Jason's melodramatic feed. He raised an eyebrow. Do I even want to know? No, she said, tossing her phone onto the counter. Just my ex auditioning for a soap opera. Jack smirked. Well, at least you upgraded the set. This place is starting to look amazing. Emma looked around and realized he was right. The once sterile condo was now warm, vibrant, hers. Yeah, she said softly. It is, isn't it? The shift between them was subtle but undeniable. One evening, as they were hanging a giant abstract painting in the living room, Emma lost her balance on the step stool. Whoa! Jack caught her by the waist, steadying her as the stool wobbled. For a moment, they were close, too close, his hands firm on her hips, her breath catching in her throat. Thanks, she whispered, her voice barely audible. His gaze lingered on hers, dark and searching, before he cleared his throat and stepped back. No problem, he said, his tone suddenly neutral. Emma pretended to adjust the painting, her heart hammering in her chest. The next day, Kayla stopped by. Oh my God, Kayla said the moment she stepped into the condo. This place looks incredible. And, oh hello, tall, dark and handsome. Jack, who'd been assembling a coffee table, looked up and gave her a polite nod. Emma groaned. Kayla, this is Jack. Jack, this is Kayla, my best friend and professional chaos gremlin. Kayla ignored the jab and turned to Emma with a wicked grin. So this is why you've been so busy. Emma rolled her eyes. He's just helping with the renovation. Kayla said, clearly unconvinced. Helping with the renovation. Is that what the kids are calling it these days? Jack chuckled, shaking his head. I'm literally just building her coffee table. Sure you are, Kayla said, smirking. A week later, Jason made his boldest move yet. Emma came home to find him waiting outside her door, holding what looked like a scrapbook. Emma, he said, stepping forward, I just need you to hear me out. She stared at him, torn between anger and disbelief. What part of "leave me alone" was unclear. He held up the scrapbook. I made this for you. It's our memories. Our life together. She blinked. You made me a breakup scrapbook? His jaw tightened. No. It's a love scrapbook. To remind you of what we had. Before Emma could respond, Jack appeared in the hallway, holding a box of tools. Everything okay out here? He asked, his voice calm but his expression unreadable. Jason's eyes narrowed. Yeah, everything's fine. Just having a private conversation. Jack raised an eyebrow. Didn't look very private to me. Emma crossed her arms. It's not. Because I told you to stop showing up, Jason. This isn't your home anymore. It's mine. And you don't get to waltz back in like nothing happened. Jason's face darkened. You're making a mistake, Emma. He's just a rebound. You'll see. She smiled, sweet and sharp. Maybe he is. But at least he's not you. With that, she slammed the door in his face. That night, as Emma and Jack sat on the couch with takeout containers and a bottle of wine, she let out a long sigh. I don't know what's worse, she said, poking at her noodles, the cheating or the pathetic attempts to win me back. Like, pick a lane, Jason. Jack chuckled. Some guys can't handle rejection. It bruises the ego. Emma snorted. His ego could use a good bruising. Maybe even a full-on demolition. Jack tilted his head, studying her. What if you gave it to him? She raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? You've been doing this renovation thing for yourself, right? Making this place yours. What if you took it one step further? Made it impossible for him to ignore the fact that you've moved on. Really moved on. Emma blinked. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Jack shrugged, a small smile playing at his lips. Maybe. Emma leaned back, a slow grin spreading across her face. Operation Petty Renovation just got an upgrade. Jason had always been dramatic. Emma knew that. But she wasn't prepared for the theatricality of what happened next. It started with an invitation. An invitation Emma didn't technically send. Kayla, ever the chaos agent, had decided that Emma's new life, new space, deserved a housewarming party. We need to celebrate, Kayla had said, already typing furiously into her phone. And, conveniently, we need to show everyone, including a certain wandering ex, that you are thriving. It's practically a civic duty. Emma tried to protest. Kayla, no. Absolutely not. The last thing I need is Jason. But Kayla just grinned wickedly. Too late. Invitation sent. Don't worry, babe. I phrased it like a general friends and neighbors thing. Totally casual. Emma groaned. You're the worst. I know, Kayla said cheerfully. Now, let's pick a theme. I'm thinking something bold. Something that screams asterisk, I'm over you and also hotter now. Asterisk. By the night of the party, the condo looked spectacular. The neon flamingo lamp glowed proudly in the corner. The walls, now painted in vibrant jewel tones, reflected the string lights Kayla had draped everywhere. The scent of fresh flowers mixed with the aroma of catered appetizers that Emma absolutely did not make herself. Jack, naturally, had been roped into bartending duty. He wore a crisp button-down that fit a little too well and had his sleeves rolled up to his elbows, as if he'd planned this all along. You know, Emma said, watching him line up glasses, you didn't have to do all this. He shrugged. What kind of neighbor would I be if I let you drink cheap wine out of mismatched mugs? Besides, I'm just here for the flamingo. Emma laughed, but her heart did that annoying flutter thing again. Guests trickled in, friends, coworkers, and a couple of neighbors who were mostly there for the free wine. Laughter and music filled the space, and for the first time in months, Emma felt light. Then, of course, Jason showed up. He didn't even knock. Just strolled in like he still had a key, wearing a smug grin and a leather jacket that screamed midlife crisis. The room went quiet for half a second, just long enough for Emma to register his presence before Kayla swooped in like a hawk. Jason. Kayla said, her voice sickly sweet. How brave of you to show your face here. Truly inspiring. Jason ignored her, his eyes locking on Emma. Can we talk? Alone. Emma straightened, her smile cool and practiced. Actually, we're kind of in the middle of a party. So, no. His gaze flicked to Jack, who was calmly pouring drinks at the bar like nothing was happening. This guy, Jason sneered, he's nothing, Emma. A rebound. You'll realize that. Jack didn't even look up. Funny. She said the same thing about you, but, you know, without the rebound part. The room erupted in muffled laughter. Jason's face went scarlet. You think this is funny? That guy's not good enough for you, Emma. You're making a mistake. Emma took a slow sip of her wine, savoring the silence that followed. Then, with perfect timing, she said, the only mistake I made was wasting so much time on you. Kayla whispered, oh, she's good, to the woman next to her. Jason stormed out, slamming the door so hard the neon flamingo flickered. The rest of the party was electric. People toasted Emma, cheered for her, and even started a chant that Kayla absolutely orchestrated. Asterisk asterisk new life. New space. No trash, asterisk asterisk. By the time the last guest left and the music had faded, Emma was exhausted but happy. Jack was cleaning up, stacking glasses with practiced ease. You didn't have to do that, Emma said softly. He glanced at her, a small smile tugging at his lips. I know. But I wanted to. She hesitated, chewing her lip. You didn't have to defend me earlier, either. With Jason. He shrugged again, his casualness at odds with the intensity in his gaze. I wanted to do that, too. For a moment, the room was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. Emma stepped closer, her heart pounding. Jack. He met her halfway. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, almost questioning. But then his hands found her waist, and hers tangled in his hair, and months of tension melted away in the space of a single breath. When they finally pulled apart, Emma laughed, breathless. Wow, she said. Jack grinned. Yeah, wow. The next morning, Emma woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of someone humming in her kitchen. She padded out, still in her pajamas, to find Jack making pancakes like he'd done it 100 times before. This is dangerously domestic, she teased. He turned, spatula in hand. Dangerous how? She leaned against the doorway, smiling. Like, I could get used to this dangerous. Jack's answering smile was slow and sure. Good. Because I was hoping you would. Jason, of course, didn't go quietly. He posted vague, brooding status updates online for weeks. Asterisk, some people don't know what they've lost until it's too late. Asterisk asterisk, real love never dies. Asterisk asterisk, karma is real. Asterisk. Emma ignored it all. She had better things to do, like choosing patio furniture with Jack, or laughing until her sides hurt when Kayla tried to help assemble a bookshelf and ended up with 3 extra screws. The condo, once sterile and cold, was now warm and alive. Full of memories that actually mattered. And for the first time in a long time, Emma felt like she wasn't just surviving. She was living. One evening, a few weeks later, she and Jack sat on the balcony with glasses of wine, watching the city lights twinkle below. You know, Jack said, this place really is yours now. Every corner. Every color. Every ridiculous flamingo. Emma smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. Ours, actually. If you want it to be. He looked down at her, his expression softening. Yeah, I'd like that. She closed her eyes, breathing in the quiet, the warmth, the peace she'd almost forgotten was possible. Funny, she murmured. I started this renovation to fix the condo. Turns out, I was fixing myself. Jack squeezed her hand, his voice low but certain. You didn't need fixing, Emma. You just needed to remember who you were. And for once, she didn't argue.